Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our first ever 3-day MTech Virtual Summit. It's a great pleasure to meet you all virtually, but more importantly, thank you for taking the time to listen. Hopefully you'll find over the next few days some useful information presented to you by many of my very talented Enhanced colleagues. I think it's important to say, it's really to say thank you to you all, because without you, we wouldn't exist. It's as simple as that. You've helped us to make us become who we are, and you will be on the journey to help us become what we aspire to be in the future. I think it's important to start by acknowledging a very direct impact that COVID-19 has had on all of us. Us as individuals, us as teams, and also the Enhance business. Certainly when we were doing our budget for 2020, we didn't plan on anything happening the way it did in March. For us as a business, it was even more unfortunate because just the Friday before we went into lockdown, we'd had a very, very successful company day, had lots of fun, lots of great knowledge sharing and experiences, and had to make lots of decisions to basically spend more time together, which we've not been able to do, certainly not face to face. So what are the impacts that we have experienced? We shut our offices, not just ours, but also our clients have as well. And we overnight went from being around about 40% of our staff working in the office to everyone working remotely. So we had challenges to make sure everyone could access the systems that they needed to make sure broadband worked, make sure mobile communications worked, make sure that people knew how to use Teams, for example. Just on that note, who would have known that we'd have used Teams or Zoom as much as we do and have learned how to blur backgrounds while we have children going in the background or a dog or something like that. But we also had to cope with employee self-isolation. It's been a topic that we've discussed at length, both myself and my leadership team, but also we have a company update every week on a Friday, and it's a theme that we have discussed. We brought in external assistance to just make sure that we are all taking advantage of the tools, the techniques to both cope with the changes that have happened, some of the stress mechanisms that have happened, but fundamentally make sure that we're healthy, not just us, but also our family, our nearest and dearest, and our colleagues, and also our community as well. We've also seen some significant economic impact. Some of the studies that we've seen, but also some of the research that we've picked up ourselves, is that for many, nearly 3/4 of their traditional way of earning money has stopped, be that retail or be that a fundraising event or some other activity. So 75% of traditional ways of earning money has not happened this year. So a huge impact, both short term, but also the real need for businesses to address and reevaluate what their strategic requirements are, but also then how do they have success as a business, also with teams, and also with employees. We've also not just that we've heard that nearly 3/4 of companies have had their traditional income streams stop and halt. We've actually had almost half have reported that they have had reduction in income. So as we've seen and seen in the papers, that the economy has shrunk, and that has a direct impact on all of our lives. We all share that, and we're no different as well. So we work really hard to make sure that we're collaborative. We also make sure that we have adjusted and make sure that we're safe, the systems are in place, and that we can operate as effectively and efficiently as we possibly can. We also think it's really important to operate with pure integrity, full integrity, which means if we don't know something, we don't know something. If we can cut a corner, we won't cut a corner. And we will aim to give the best and most open advice, both internally as well as externally. And hopefully in the next 3 days, and when you've had any interactions with myself or anyone within Enhance, that you recognise that we operate with purpose. We are driven by using and developing the latest possible, using the latest technologies to create the best solutions, which ultimately helps you to become more successful. More successful is either to drive better, more efficient income generation, or to drive better, more efficient operations. Because if you're successful, fundamentally, we become more successful as well. So we're driven by using the latest technology to ensure that you can become more successful, but really now with an online world to make sure that your data is safe and your business is secure as well. As we've adjusted to operating in a virtual world, you can imagine that when we've been doing traditional sales calls or marketing, or even in operating in a delivery capacity, we've not been able to be face-to-face. We've not been able to meet you. So we've had to adjust to how do we do that remotely or digitally. So we're no different to any other business in terms of scratching our heads to say, we cannot do that anymore. What are the options? So you'll have seen many of you have been involved and interacted with many of our consultants who have been very successful in changing our methodology, making sure that we are successful in delivering projects on time, on budget, and that will continue. That methodology is something that is iterative, and I'm very proud to say that we've made those adjustments very quickly. So we do, I think it's important to let everyone know that we continue to invest in our employees, even though times have changed. We're making sure training is effective, but also we're making sure that our systems are changing. So we have just gone live with our own version of Business Central, and we're also using the very latest CRM version of Dynamics. And we've also just implemented PSA and also now using cloud services as well. So very much we're eating our own cake. So what we provide to you, we're actually using ourselves. I think that's a very strong indication that we really truly believe that the technology that we are able to offer to you is something that helps us be successful and drive our business forward. When it comes to adjusting to COVID-19, we recognize that we're in a fortunate position. We are still very, very busy, and others have not been, unfortunately. We've taken some views in terms of how do we make sure that we stay together as a team and make sure the individuals, employees are working together and feeling a sense of belonging, even though we're all now working remotely. So we've been doing employee surveys for the last 2 years now, and the very latest one, I'm proud to say that we have a net promoter score of 67, which I think indicates a very talented, skilled, but also driven and motivated team of individuals, teams themselves, but also as a combined business, both here in the UK and in Ireland. When it comes to trying to find initiatives to help, it's small, but some of you may be aware that we launched a haircut for charity, which is an initiative just that, which is cut your hair and money that you normally have spent going to barbers or the hairdressers, you give to a charity of your choice. We have more ideas to do that, but it's just an indication of we think with that, whilst we're a small business, a growing business, but there's a real chance, an opportunity for us to do more. And on doing more, we launched an initiative last year, which is called Be Good, Do Good. And that gives every one of us a chance to spend 1 day per month to go to charity of our choice, to give our skills to them, to help them further their cause. And I'm delighted to say that many enhancers have taken up on that opportunity. Since lockdown, we've recognised that the blurring between home life and work life has gone, and that's a real change and a real challenge for many people for many different reasons. That can be either living and working on your own, dealing with young children, coping with family situations which have changed materially, and how to address those and cope with those. So we recognise that whilst, yes, we're a technology business at heart, technology is part of the answer. It isn't the only answer. It isn't the complete answer, nor will it ever be. So people are fundamental to us as a business. And to that end, we've continued to invest and have actually even accelerated that investment in 2020, both in terms of our solutions, as I mentioned earlier. We've invested in Business Central, we've invested in CRM, and we've also invested in PSA, as well as cloud services. We also continue to invest in our individuals and also our teams to ensure we provide an even better, consistent service to you in order to help you become successful as well. Having talked a little bit about how COVID's impacted on the Enhanced business, I think it's important to recognise that all of us are now working digitally. Even today, we're all online. That could be digitally through either a collaborative communication tool such as Zoom or Teams, which we're now using extensively, or it could be through a social media platform such as LinkedIn or online learning. Certainly myself, I've not been on so many courses, I've not taken that advantage. over the last 6-7 months, I've done more so than I have done in the past perhaps 6 or 7 years. But it can also be to access a finance system, or to access a customer record in a CRM system. Or it could be to pay a bill, or pay some salaries, or getting paid. Or it could be to deal with HMRC. I think the reflection of that is, I don't know how you all feel, but certainly when I lose my mobile phone, I go into sheer panic. We are absolutely dependent on the data that we have, the access to information, but also without a tool such as a mobile phone, we really feel vulnerable because we are no longer online. So I think as many businesses did in March, April, we really rapidly but very thoroughly reviewed the strategic requirements and priorities for MHANS. And we did some digging around to make sure and to see what are the changes that we see happening. So some of the research we did, which has influenced what we prioritize, and some of the things you will learn over the next 3 days, is that we found out that 90%, so 90, of buying decisions now involve internet research first. So the ability, therefore, to ask and receive or find relevant information has increasingly become prevalent. We've also seen that lots of research is done in the evenings, no longer just between 9 to 5. And we're also seeing, it's been a trend that's been happening for a while now, but it's increasing, we think, in terms of more and more self-serve, so more and more video content, more and more information being made available at a time and a place which is convenient. We're seeing that increasing, and in some ways that rate is actually getting faster and faster. We're also seeing artificial intelligence becoming a reality. We all now use, not all, but most of us will use Siri, or certainly have had an example of some voice recognition system. We also recognise that price is always an issue, and we need to always be price competitive. But we also have identified that when it comes to loyalty, there's a real sense of being able to offer a customised or personalised service, that there's a willingness to pay. As many as 60% of respondents from our recent survey highlighted that they would be willing to pay as much as 10% more if they felt that the service they were receiving was personalised and reflected what they really were after. Moving just briefly to an example within the not-for-profit world, is that 80%, so at least 80% of donors now consider it important to know the real outcomes of their charitable donations or volunteer work with non-profit organisations. So therefore, if I'm going to give £10 or £20, many people want to know, where did that £20 go? So that ability to prove where money was spent, how it was spent, and make sure it was well spent is increasing, not just in the not-for-profit sector, but it's also relevant in terms of every other business that we're operating and working with. So having said that, we now all work in a digital world. What are the challenges of that digital world? What are the challenges that we face, but also what are the challenges that we're seeing are out there in the market, and some of the challenges that you personally and your business will be experiencing? I touched briefly on Teams and Zoom, but collaboration is hard. It's difficult. It's not just using Teams, but how to get the right information to communicate effectively through the use of the latest tools and gadgets that we can, to ensure that every part of the business is knowing what's going on, who's doing what, when to do that. As part of that is to understand the different functions and how they interact within the business. I think it's become more prevalent by working from home. You become more acutely aware in terms of who you would like to interact with and when, and understanding the bottlenecks within that process as well. We're certainly seeing that the ability to manage increasing amount of data. We're seeing less paper, we're seeing more data, and making sure that's well managed and well controlled, and being accessed by the right people at the right time is a requirement which is growing and growing and growing. We are producing more and more data every single day as us as individuals. We're also producing more and more information every day as individuals and teams. So that information needs to get provided in the right format to make sure good and timely decision making is possible. Because of those three areas, which are a little bit can be challenging in terms of slightly inefficient operations, some siloed relevant data, that means getting a real genuine idea and what we class as being a 360-degree view of what's going on is difficult. So therefore, the challenge is to how we get a real insight into what's going on. And that can only be achieved by getting the right data, making it the right information, and making it available to the right people at the right time so they can be informed and make the right decision. What triggers that? Fundamentally, data silos. So we all know that we sit with some things on our laptop, some things in our email box, but also from a business perspective, quite often there'll be piece of information sitting in one system and another piece of information sitting in another system, both those two combined would give a clear picture, but getting those two bits of information together can be a challenge. So fundamentally, how do we address that challenge or those challenges? We need to get in the world of moving away from being reactive to proactive, from being siloed to being connected, to ensuring we no longer have incomplete data, but we have holistic data to make better and more timely involved and informed decisions. We also need to make sure we don't just report activity, we are delivering outcomes. Therefore, from whether it's spending money on a system or a solution, we can make sure that the expected outcome was delivered and achieved. So what do we at Enhance aspire to be, and what drives us? Well, fundamentally, we want to provide market-leading technology, and we develop our own IP on top of that, but then we go and implement it, we support it, but fundamentally we provide flexible solutions which are designed to increase stakeholder engagement, maximize income streams, and enable efficient, but also secure and compliant operations. So over the next 3 days, you're going to hear a lot from a very, very talented set of individuals who will go into detail about certain areas and certain skills and certain solutions that we have on offer. But fundamentally, it can be broken down into four different categories. So the first one is, how can we help you to maximize your income? Well, really, it's all about personalizing engagement, isn't it? So it's how to make sure you understand who it is you're wanting to talk to, engage with them at the right time with the right message so that they find what you're talking about appealing, but also understanding. And it promotes loyalty. We can do that through offering not just a CRM system, but to ensure a marketing engine is made available, ensure that marketing engine is also managed and targeted to ensure both responses are accurate, but also any changes that are required are done in a timely manner, but also more importantly in an informed manner as well. So the second area is around increasing operational efficiency and reducing costs. We do that through helping to automate more and more processes. How do we do that? Well, ultimately it's to empower staff to spend more time on high-value strategic work by reducing manual workloads, minimizing things which just take time but don't actually add any value. That means, like, how do we help you to automate routines, repetitive tasks like processing recurring things. Month-end routines can be done and automated and therefore sped up, so that all of us can spend more time doing more interesting things as opposed to repetitive, rather mundane work. Looking to reduce staff dependencies on traditional or archaic processes like batch processing, for example, copying, posting documentation, emailing individual versions of documents, moving towards e-signatures, or using SharePoint, for example, or making sure there's just one version of the document, not multiple versions. We can increase efficiency by streamlining operational processes, minimize the need to re-enter data, provide consistent data enabling timely decision making, as well as to fundamentally to help reduce bottlenecks and single points of failures. We've often been in the position where the one person that you had the latest version of the file was on holiday, or another person who had unique skills was on holiday, and ensuring that we didn't interrupt those holidays. We need to make sure the information is available, but also we have to make sure we have the cross-skilling and capabilities across the team to make sure we deliver the best possible service to you at all times. The third pillar that you'll hear more about over the coming days is how to get more accurate real-time information on status, but also what were the outcomes. And we do that through using a Microsoft Power Platform, and importantly, one of the three components is called Power BI, which is really their reporting tool. So what does that really mean? It means getting access to all the data that's required and presenting in a way to the right audience at the right time, so you can be more intimate aware of what's going on, but also more intimate aware of the understanding of the issues, and therefore can make a better, more informed decision in a more timely manner. So the fourth pillar that you'll hear more about in the coming sessions is all around about by moving everything to the cloud. Cloud services, or Azure, you may be more familiar with. But fundamentally, it's all about ensuring your data is safe, it's encrypted, it's secure. If it has to be backed up, it can be. If you can go and need to check it, it will be able to be done that way. But really, it's enabling by doing and using Azure and cloud services, it enables you to access your information from any device, anywhere in the world, at any time, as long as you have internet connectivity. So what does that really mean? Benefits are you can access information when you're being asked, which means you can engage with your customers better, you can engage with your employees better, you can engage with your co-workers better, but also that means you can know that your business is open 24/7 by 365. Bizarrely, by doing all that, you'll feel less frustrated. You will know that you're adding value, and having utilized technology more, I do actually think that you'll end up feeling more human again. As I said earlier, back in March, April, when we were doing our own strategic review in terms of what we need to prioritize for this year, 2020, but also more likely for 2021 and beyond, we were looking at in terms of what were both the core technology components we required to acquire and build on, but also therefore the skills that we were requiring to build and develop. So within all that, fundamentally, our view is that we really strongly desire that you have the ability to access and create a 360-degree view of your business, but also of your market and also of your customers. And we can do that by providing solutions based on 4 key components. One is Business Central and GP from a finance perspective, CRM or CE as it's now called, and D365 from a customer engagement perspective, marketing perspective, event management perspective. We also think in terms of Power Platform, Power BI, Power Apps, and Flow, build skills there, and also around Office 365, meaning Teams and Excel and Word and the like, and pulled together through the glue of Azure and cloud services. So within those 5 areas, I'm proud to say that those are our building blocks. I'm also proud to say that we are a gold partner in each and every one of those 5 components now. So hopefully that's given a little bit of an insight in terms of the challenges that we have been facing with Enhance, how we've embraced them, adapted to them, changed to them, what you can expect from us both this year in terms of the solutions that we're developing and also next year. But over the next 3 days, I just want to spend a little bit of time in terms of explaining or outlining what's going to be happening. So you will hear today's focus is around ERP. So a lot around GP, a lot around Business Central, and also you'll hear from cloud services in terms of how to kickstart that process if you haven't yet done that. But also delighted to have 3 of our partners that we work very closely with, E1 and Draker and also Jet Global. You'll hear from them this afternoon, which is, I'm looking forward to hearing those sessions as well. When it comes to tomorrow, tomorrow's focus is around the not-for-profit sector. Delighted that we're going to be joined from Ian from Microsoft, which is great. As many of you know that we are a global partner with the Technology for Social Impact group. We continue to be, and we continue to do our best and work hard with many fantastic other partners, but also that team there doing great things. You'll will hear more about what the NFP 365 solution is specifically around ERP, specifically around CRM, and also what we can do around reporting as well. So you'll see that in terms of what's possible, but also we'll start to give an indication in terms of what we're working on for charities of all sizes, be it a big multinational or the smallest of the small. And we think that's important. We really understand it can help drive and encourage not-for-profits to further their cause faster. And on the final day, day 3, we'll be focusing really all around CRM. Quite a similar approach to the first 2 days, but really to give an indication in terms of what can be empowered by both Power Apps, Power BI, CRM, and also the latest in terms of sales and case management. And topped off at the very end with a Microsoft Azure hosting session, which I think will be a grand finale on Thursday, which I'm looking forward to. You'll see from the timetable that it's flexible, so you don't have to attend all sessions. We also would like for you to join as many as you possibly can. But in the meantime, if you do have any questions to me directly, I would welcome the opportunity to get any feedback or to answer any questions that you currently have.